Thank you very much for joining. Today's session, we've come to our learning outcome 2, where we're now going to understand a common data analysis life cycle of the choice. So we have 2 mandatory learning outcomes, and then we have a merit learning criteria. So in our previous tutorial, we've introduced the principles of organizational data architecture, and we've covered the importance of data as a business resource. We described the role played by operational and analytical system, and we also described the importance of databases locations. So we looked into different types of databases. Then our merit activities, we compared the development effort and benefits achieved by activities undertaken through an ETL process. And lastly, we evaluated the technical design choices usually employed in operational and analytical systems. So let's get into our presentation. Let's understand a common data analysis life cycle and the choice. So from our learning, from our indicative content, the data analysis life cycle, it is a structured approach to analyze data from initial collection to the final presentation of insights. So what we're doing, we're gathering data, and we now have to ensure that the data analysis is systematic, efficient, and produce actionable results. So what we now set expectation that will come from this whole life cycle. So let's look into the stages of our life cycle. The stages of our life cycle are going to include data collection, which involves gathering raw data from various sources related to the analysis objectivities. So these sources will now include databases, surveys, sensor logs, and external datasets. And what are the key activity of our data collection? We're now going to identify data sources. We're now going to look into data acquisition and documentation. By identifying our data sources, we're now going to determine where the necessary data resides, whether this is an internal database or external repository, for example. And with the data acquisition, we're now going to extract this data using our appropriate tools, our appropriate business intelligence tools and technologies to ensure that the data collected is relevant. And lastly, we're now going to documentate what we've been able to extract. Why it is important? Because we're now going to have accurate and relevant data collection, which it is important, which is a very important phase. Second phase is data cleaning. So once we've been able to extract our data, we now have cleaning, which is also known as data processing. And this is simply going to involve in preparing our raw data for analysis by correcting the errors. So again, the activity that will now be involved is error correction, handling missing data, and data transformation. So this is important because it allows us to clean our data set and have as much as accuracy as possible. Data exploration, where this involves examining the clean data into understand the structure, patterns, and relationship. The activity, this is going to now include descriptive statistics, data visualization, and hypothesis generations, where with the descriptive statistics, we're now going to calculate summary statistics such as mean, median, mode, variance, and standard deviation to understand the distribution of our data. Data visualization allows us to have a visual representation of our data, where we're now going to plot our data. We can now have chart, graphics, or eyes, for example, depending on how we want to visualize our data. Hypothesis generation. So now, based on our initial observation, we can now predict what could be the most suitable next step. The importance of this is that with data exploration, we now provide insights into the data characteristics, and this is going to help us to identify potential areas of interest for deep analysis. Data modeling, applying statistic or machine learning models for our data, to develop our patterns, make predictions, and so on. The key activities is model selection, model training, and model evaluation. So, as mentioned, from machine learning prediction, we can have model selection, where we can choose the appropriate model based on the type and analysis objectivities. So if we're looking into machine learning, we can use classification or regression or clustering. After choosing our model, we now have to train our model in order for us to have some values. So by training our data set, we can also validate what we were able to extract, what we were able to plot as a chart. Model evaluation. This allows us to assess model performance using metrics like accuracy, precision, recall, and so on. Why it is important to have data modeling? This is essential for transforming data into actionable insight and also providing the analytical foundation for decision making. Data interpretation and presentation. So this phase will now involve interpreting the results from data modeling and presenting the finding in a clear, concise, and actionable manner for our stakeholders. So the key activities are result interpretation, visualization, and reporting. This is important because with an effective interpretation and presentation, we're now going to ensure that insights and efficient are accurate and the analyses are understood efficiently for any sort of decision making. So let's describe each stage and how they follow each other. So we do have a chart at the end of this, I think. No, it's the next slide. So by looking into the stages that we've mentioned, we're now going to explain them at a deeper level. So firstly, we need to have a business understanding where the initial phase focuses on understanding our project objectivities. So when business owners and stakeholders have to now come to agreement and understand what are the goals of the project, then we now have to define the business needs and requirements. So what are the important key activities? So we need stakeholder analysis, define objectivities and requirement gathering. So we need to have the ability to identify and understand the motivation and expectation of stakeholders. Define our objectivity. We're going to clearly define the analysis, objectivities, and the business question that need to be answered. Why is this important? This business understanding ensures that data analysis efforts are aligned with the strategy goals of the organization. After our business understanding, we need a data understanding, where in this phase, the focus will now shift to collecting and understanding the data. This will now involve identifying data sources, assessing data quality, and gaining initial insight into the data. What are the key activities? Data collection, data description, data exploration, and quality assessment. Why are these concepts important? With data understanding, this is basically going to provide a comprehensive view of data characteristics and potential issues. After our data understanding, we will now need our data preparation, where in this phase we're now going to involve preparing our data for analysis by cleaning, transforming, and integrating data from different sources. The activities that are now included are going to be data cleaning, data transformation, data integration, and future engineering. Again, this is important to ensure that our data is in a high quality and is in a suitable format for modeling, which is very important for accurate and reliable analysis. Modeling, this is the phase where various modeling techniques are selected, applied, and tuned to the prepared data, and also to identify pattern and generate predictions. What are going to be the key activities? These are going to be model selection, model training, model evaluation, and iteration. So this is crucial for the data analysis life cycle, where by having modeling, we're now going to transform prepared data into actionable insights. Then we also have evaluation, where this phase is going to involve our detailed assessment of the model and what we've now been able to transform. So the key activities are going to include performance testing, stakeholders review, and validation. Again, this is very important because it ensures that the models are not only technically sound, but also relevant and useful for our business perspective. Once we completed our evaluation, we're now ready to deploy, where it is the final phase and basically involves deploying the models into production environment and making them available for our stakeholders. The key activities for deployment are model implementation, user training, monitoring, and documentation. Deployment is going to ensure that the insight generated from our data analysis are effectively integrated into the business operations, driving decision-making and value creation. Our learning outcome 2, now going to outline the activities and outcome of each steps. So we've now looked into all the life cycle from business understanding to our deployment phase. So this is a very widely acceptable industry, which standard can focus on achieving business goals without prescribing any specific tool or methods. Here we have a summary table, which shows where we're now explaining whereby each phase we have activities and outcome for each of them. So business understanding, so the activities are going to be identifying our stakeholders, define our objectivities, and now gather requirements. So the outcome for this will be a well-defined project scope aligned with business goals, clear understanding of stakeholder expectation and source criteria. With data understanding, the activities are going to be collection of data, describe of data, explore data, and assessing quality. We're going to identify and document data quality issues like missing values and inconsistency. The outcome for data understanding, we're now going to have detailed understanding of our data characteristics, which allows us to have a good initial insight into our patterns and relationships. Data preparation. So the activity involved cleaning, transforming, integration of data, and feature engineering. The outcome for this is that we now have cleaned, transformed, and integrated data sets, which are ready for modeling phase. With the modeling phase, we're now going to have the ability to select, train, and evaluate our models. We can now also have iterate as needs, where it's basically going to refine models and revisit data preparation if necessary. Outcome for this, we're now going to develop models that are ready for detailed evaluation, insight into model performance and potential area for improvements. Evaluation, the activity are test model, review result with stakeholders, and validate models. The outcome, we're now going to validate models that are ready for deployment, and also stakeholder approved insight are also recommended. Deployment activity, now looking into implement models, training users, monitor performance, and document process. Outcome for this, we're now going to be deploying integrated into business process system and ongoing performance monitoring and adjustments. Characteristic and key features, cycle and practical application. Our merit activity. Now I'm going to compare the key features of a chosen model with other models. So to understand the strength and unique aspect of a CRISP DM model, this is going to help to compare with other common use data analysis models such as SEMMA, Sample, Explore, Modify, Model Access, and the KDD, Knowledge Discovery in Databases. So we're now going to compare them. We're now going to have a comparative analysis of these models. So we now have a summary table of these key features. So each model has their own features, such as phases, focus, iterative approach, business integration, tool and method, industry standard, stakeholder involvement, and data quality focus. When it comes to cross-industry standard process for data modeling, the key features that we can see are going to be phases, focus, and iterative approach. But these phases are going to be business understanding, data understanding, data preparing, modeling, evaluation, and deployment. When it comes to focus, we now have strong emphasis on aligning data mining project, with business objectivities and ensuring that the results are actionable. Business also with CRISP DM, we now have business integration, user methods, industry standards, and stakeholder involvement. With sample, explore, modify, model, assess. So the key features are going to be phase, focus, integration approach, business integration again. So the phase for this are going to be, again, sample, explore, modify, model, assess. And this focuses on emphasizing the technical steps of data preparation and modeling, often using statistical and data mining context. The tools and methods that are going to involve are going to be developed by SAS Institute, which is often implies the use of SAS tools. The industry standards, which are commonly used in specific industry, we're now going to rely heavily on statistical analysis and data mining. And regarding the stakeholder involvement, this is now going to be moderate, and it typically involves technical teams with less emphasis on continuous stakeholder feedbacks. Knowledge discovery in databases. So the phases are going to include selection, processing, transformation, data mining, interpretation, and evaluation. So this focuses on providing an end-to-end process for discovery, useful knowledge from data, with a strong emphasis on technical steps of data mining. So the tools involved are non-prospective, which is going to allow for flexibility in tools techniques choice. So now we're going to look into the requirements of input and output for each step in a cross-industry standard process for data mining. So each phase we now build on the previous one, and they set the stage for the next one. So input that we will now see for a business understanding are going to be prior data analysis, stakeholder insights, business context. The output that we now have are going to be framework, preliminary plan, business requirement document on importance, input for our data understanding, business understanding outputs, data sources, and domain knowledge. The output are going to be data collection report, initial data analysis, data quality report and importance. With data preparation, the inputs are data understanding outputs, data cleaning tools, data integration resources, and the output are prepared data sets, data preparation reports, and importance. Modeling input involves data preparation outputs, modeling tools, modeling techniques, and the output are set of models, model performance metrics, importance. Evaluation, input and modeling outputs, evaluation criteria, validation data. And the output are selected models, evaluation reports, importance. For our deployment, the input are evaluation output, deployment tools and user training resources, and the output values are deployment models, deployment reports, realized business value and importance. So to conclude, understanding the input and output of each phase in the CRIS PDM model is going to be very essential for a systematic and successful data mining project. So each phase builds on the results of the previous one. So they're now creating a continuous flow that ensures alignment with business objectivities and data integrity throughout each process. So this was everything for our learning outcome 2. Is there any question for me?
Thanks, Victor. No, it's all fairly clear. Again, I'll probably go over the stuff sort of again tonight and tomorrow before our next session. Then any questions, I'll raise it in the assessment session 4, basically. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And yeah, I will now end today's session, and I will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, Victor. Thanks.
Have a good day. Bye.
Take you too. Bye-bye.